Okay, welcome everyone. We'll just wait a couple of minutes while people join. They've just got a few more people trickling in as we speak. All right, we're running a couple of minutes late already, but that's fine. So we might just kick off. So my name's Greg Ward. I work in the careers area of the university, particularly with focus on the diversity side of things. So great to have you all here. I'm going to start with the acknowledgement of country. So I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land which we are meeting on today, or wherever you might be. I'm in the Awabakal area, and I'd like to acknowledge the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who reside in this area, and extend my respect to the elders past and present and future cultural knowledge holders. So yeah, thanks to everyone for joining us today. So I've got a few staff members here, a few current JMP or a couple of current JMP students, which is fantastic. So Dan and Elise, thank you so much for coming along. It's great to see some smiling faces here, and everyone who is here today. This session is being recorded, so we'll make that accessible to you on our website so that you can actually refer to it again in the future. From here, the first thing I really want to do and give you an idea of the focus of this session is to really help you out with how to get through that application. And I thought, actually, I can't take the credit. Sian, it was you who should get the credit. It'd make a lot of sense to get some previous students along who have been through this process before to share their thoughts on the process. And yeah, just kind of walk us through it in a fairly informal way, which I think is sort of the best way for this type of thing. And so we might start with that, Dan and Elise. So welcome, thanks heaps for coming along. I'll start with yourself, Dan. So what inspired you to apply for the JMP?
Yeah, cheers, Greg. Look, I kind of always had the idea of being a doctor in the back of my head for many years. I'm a little, probably one of the older of the cohort this year. And I did a lot of work in pharmacies and in Aboriginal medical services up in Alice Springs for sort of off and on over the past 10 years or so. And really enjoyed that, like helping out in the roles that I was doing, and I did a lot of different stuff up there.
Would have been some pretty good experiences.
Yeah, fantastic, and really interesting out there. And it's such a great team to work with too in the spots that I did, and not always the easiest work, but
no.
it was a really lovely team, and yeah, you do get that. There was those little moments where you felt like you'd made a really big difference in someone's life, and even in those unqualified roles that I was doing, I was getting a lot of that, and that's kind of what really prompted me. I felt I could do a lot more, and I was starting to feel that limitation of like, oh, I know a little bit about this, but I've always got to hand on to someone who knows properly, and I felt that if I could get that official qualification, then I could be the one just taking charge of that and really helping out, and yeah, that's kind of what got me to step off. And
so you kind of got a bit of a taste for it in those environments, yeah, and liked what you were doing by the sounds of it, and yeah, you probably learnt a lot from that. Has that helped you in the course so far?
Oh yeah, quite a lot. There's been a lot of good transferable skills there, like just patient interactions for one. Like so much of what we do and learn in JMP is just how to talk to people and how to speak to patients and how to help out in that regard. And having a lot of and obviously a bit of maturity on my side helps with that too. But yeah, definitely from there's certain subjects we just walk into and I'm like, oh, I've got a lot of experience with this and practical knowledge within the pharmacy and everything like that. That's been a real handy thing to fall back on.
Yeah, excellent.
When the going gets tough.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for sharing that, Dan. It sounds like a pretty interesting story to get there. Elise, same question. So what inspired you to apply for the JMP?
So my experience is a little bit different. Mine comes more from like my own personal experiences of growing up as a ballet dancer. So throughout that career that I did, I encountered heaps and heaps of different injuries and was always in and out of like different health professionals and like going to hospitals and physios and doctors and all sorts. And so once I finished dancing, I was like, oh, well, I wish I didn't have all those things happen to me, but maybe I could help like the next generations of like dancers and like people like avoid the things that I had happen. And so originally I wanted to do physiotherapy because I never had ever thought that medicine would be a possibility. Just, I don't know, I never thought about it. No
I
one in
think
my
you,
family.
sorry, Elise, you're just hitting your microphone a couple of times. So
Sorry about that.
it's just one of those things that's noisy. But sorry, go on. It's really interesting.
Sorry. Yeah. So I never had anyone in my family that had ever done something like such as medicine. So it never seemed possible until this pathway popped up last year. So yeah, I feel quite blessed really. And I feel like the JMP chose me. I didn't really choose them.
And I have to say, it's so good to see you just nonstop smiling through your whole story. It seems like it's been a really positive story for you. This opportunity popping up, and I imagine many people are in similar boats. This is an opportunity they possibly didn't know about or didn't see coming, and it sounds really exciting. So congratulations that you got in and it all worked out. So are injuries avoidable in ballet though? So
debatable, I think.
yeah, it seems pretty tough. That's yeah. It's not the reason I didn't choose it, but that's a different story. We won't go into that today. So, okay. So I've also got the story, thanks Elise, that I wanted to share from one of the other students who couldn't come along today, which is, I'm just reading off this, so you'll have to excuse me. So deeply personal motivations for studying with the JMP. I would consider one of the most significant inspirations to me, my alignment for the passion for science, quest for knowledge, and desire to make a notable and positive difference in the lives of both my peers and future patients. So yeah, definitely something that aligns to both what Dan and Elise were saying there about making that difference. So yeah, that's fantastic. All right, Dan, on to you again. What advice would you give to this year's applicants? Mostly, I mean, this can be general, but also a bit around the personal statement as well. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, the big thing is don't stress too much about how much medical knowledge you have. The JMP is here to teach you all that, and they really don't expect you at the point of entry to know any of it. And I think that a lot of people can get quite stressed out about that. Like if you need to go into this field, you need to know about it, and you don't. They're going to teach you that. So the big thing is be really honest as to who you are and show them in all those, like in all of these personal statements. If you get through to interviews, definitely in the interview, show them who you are and what kind of person you are, and that caring side that I'm sure all of you have, that's kind of driving you to go down this pathway, because I feel like that's really what they want to see. And such a big part of this course is fostering a lot of that. You know, it's not just about being the smartest doctor you can be. A lot of it's teaching us how to engage with patients and how to treat people nicely, because it does such a wonderful thing to their healthcare. So just be that lovely person that I'm sure you all are, and show the JMP that, and I reckon that'll really help out with your chances. So.
Excellent. That was fantastic. I mean, I know it sounds straightforward, doesn't it? Just be yourself and all, but it's actually, I help a lot of people with job applications, and it is difficult to get people to have the confidence to just, as Dan said, just be yourself and show them what a lovely person you are. It's really great that you shared that with everyone, Dan. So thanks so much. All right, Elise, go for it. So what advice would you give the applicants?
Yeah, okay. So my advice would be, like, it is just the 6 spots, but just make sure that you choose something to coincide with like medicine that you would be like equally or similarly as happy to like pursue as well, because even if it's not this year, your year, you will learn like so much from doing another health degree or something similar, and it will give you more time to like think about like medicine and make sure you 100% know it is what you want, because it's a degree that you will study for the rest of your life. It's not like a 4-year degree and then you put the books away and you're done. So it is a big commitment. So I think like some people don't know a lot about like what a medical degree involves and then what comes after. So if you could have a little bit of insight before even starting, I think that would benefit you greatly and make you like more aware of whether it is something that you 100% want, or maybe you want something different. So yeah, that's all my advice really, but definitely go for it if it's what you want.
Yeah, you're right. Like the things people are looking for from a medical degree can sometimes be gained from a different degree. I think that's what you're saying as well, or might not even be a degree at all. It might be a completely different pathway that you end up taking. So, and Elise, how did you find writing your job application? I think you mentioned that you weren't afraid to ask a couple of questions.
Yeah, I was definitely a bit unsure of what to put down and how to write it.
And I'm not surprised, like, and it is something that most of you have probably not done before. So, yeah.
Yeah, I found it really, like I felt like I was talking about myself too much when I did it, but it was a personal reflection. So it was a little bit difficult to write. I think I spent a fair bit of time like rewriting it and like asking my mum how it sounded, like, does it sound too self-obsessed or all this stuff? But just write like, I don't know, just like on your own experiences really, and like how you actually feel. So yeah, I don't know, just get a friend to read it essentially, and maybe they can reassure, or maybe they know something about you that you've forgotten or haven't, or like aren't as aware
That's a
of
really good
as well.
point. Like sometimes we don't see how great we are at certain things, and we're actually, you mentioned, oh, is it too self-obsessed? But maybe it's not focused enough on what you can bring. And that's what I'm finding with most students in their job applications, is that they probably talk themselves down a bit too much rather than talking themselves, or not even talking themselves up, just letting people know how good they are. That comes back to what Dan said about just giving yourself permission to just be yourself and share who you are. So thanks for that, Elise. That's some really good advice to get a sort of third party, be it a friend or family member, to have a read over it. So nice work.
Yeah, no worries.
So
thank you.
I'll just read out the other one from the student who couldn't be here today. So regarding the personal statement, again, just try and be yourself and pour it onto the paper who you are, why studying medicine appeals to you, and what your values or uniqueness holds about you, and how that would make a positive impact in the medical realm. It's also worth noting the university's careers department, so us, is available to assist in reviewing the personal statement as well. Like any application process, stress can be highlighted. It is important to be mindful of this and practice self-care. Okay, it is pretty stressful writing. So that's it for that. So it's pretty stressful writing these things. And Dan and Elise, how long did it take you guys to write it? And it's not a competition who can write the quickest one, but these take ages as far as I know, because you just keep redoing it.
Oh yeah, mine went through many an iteration.
Yep.
And I was constantly bouncing it off my partner at the time and sort of trying to cut it down. I was very worried about the word limit. My story is quite long and involved. Obviously, there's a bit of a history there, and I really didn't want to cut too much of that out. So I think I went over the limit a little bit. They said it was 1 page, and I was a page and a bit, and just sort of went, look, I feel it was relevant. I hope they read it through, and that it's that doesn't disqualify me or anything. But they were really good, like Cien and that team over at the Equity for Excellence were fantastic in their feedback along the way, and just letting us know where we were in those processes. And yeah.
Excellent. So yeah, it basically the thanks for that, Dan. The main point I'm getting across is that this is not a 2 hours in the afternoon or one night type of thing. Any job application or personal statement like this will take time. Elise, it took you, sounds like, a few goes as well.
Yeah, I think I did like a rough draft on one day, but then I just edited it multiple times, and then I was always asking like people that were close to me if they could read it and what they thought, like whether that sounded like me or like something that would be, prospective of like possibly entering in what I was trying to enter. So yeah, just get advice really, because there's no harm, and you can't get advice from, like you guys, but like from people that are close to you. They will know you the best, so they'll be some of the best people to ask.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. And it's writing something like this is quite personal, and you end up finding out quite a bit about yourself throughout the process, I imagine, as well, being so reflective. So Dan and Elise, thank you very much for your time. You're more than welcome to stick around, or if you have to head off, absolutely fine as well. So thank you very much. I'll do some type of a round of applause. I don't know, do you do that online? I'm not sure. Virtual high fives don't work. So
I do actually have to take off, but thanks very much, Greg, and good luck, everyone. You'll do great. Okay, just be yourselves, and hopefully we'll see you next year.
Excellent. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
What I might do now is, just because been online for a little while, I haven't actually met all of these staff that are in here today. So Sian, we've obviously had a few discussions over time. Do you want to just quickly introduce yourself there?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Sian Trotter. I work for the Centre of Excellence for Equity in Higher Education, and through the Excellence Through Equity Pathway to Medicine, it's kind of a collaboration between quite a few areas throughout the university. So kind of joining all the dots with pathways. Now I've forgotten your acronym for PAL, Pathways and Academic Learning Support. Yes. So PALS, Student Central Admissions, the Media and Communications team, and then so it's kind of very much an equity focus, but I'm here to answer all of your questions and provide you with information via the Excel Through Equity email address, and also in forwarding all of your personal statements, all of your equity documents onto the selection panel for review, all within the timeframes as per the website. Oh, you're on mute, Greg.
Sorry, I keep forgetting that. I should use the button on my headset thing. So what I might even get you to do is pop the email address you just referenced in the chat box, if you can. I've got too many screens and things going on here at the moment. So, and also we've got Danielle. So do you want to just quickly introduce yourself as well?
Hi everyone, my name's Danielle. I'm one of the student liaison officers for enabling students. So whether you're in New Step, Open Foundation, or your PUG at the moment, I am mostly assisting the Central Coast Arimba students, but sometimes, I'm here to help if you need anything. If you have questions about progressing onto your bachelor degrees or anything within your current studies, you can come to our student liaison officers.
Excellent. Thanks, Danielle. And we're going to save the, well, obviously feel free to ask questions as we go through this, but if it's the more technical questions around the entry requirements, etc., maybe we can cover off a couple of them towards the end. And any other staff, I can't see everyone here at the moment. Sharon, do you want to just quickly introduce yourself?
Thanks, Greg. Sharon Boyd, I'm the Student Liaison Officer for the Callaghan campus. So I look after all the students that are currently in Open Foundation, New Step and your PUG at our campuses. So, and it's really nice to see some of you guys. I can see a lot of the names there that I've spoken to via email, and I'm really glad to see Elise and Dan. I remember your journey and applying for the Excellence Through Equity program and having a chat to you guys. And I do believe Elise came and did orientation for me last year.
It must be pretty
for the-
cool for you, Sharon, to see like last year's hard work and their hard work pay off, and
it was
seeming so
very
happy.
exciting. Yeah, look, and that's one of the little things we don't get to see a lot of. What happens after everybody gets into their degree. And like, we have lovely students that come back and see us all the time. And I've got quite a few students who do keep in touch with me, but obviously it's really difficult. Everybody moves on to their degree, but it's so nice to be able to get to see you guys and applying and be able to actually see how you're tracking with everything. And it's really great to see that everyone's still going and who got in. That's really exciting for us. I remember we just about threw a party when we got all the names released to us. So it's just really great to see the outcomes for it all. But anyway, I'll leave you to it. Thanks very much. I just wanted to say hello and who I am. So thanks, Greg.
That's all right. Thanks, Sharon and everyone. So I just kind of wanted to give the message out there. I was about to say impression, that's the wrong word. The message that we are here to help you, and we're actually excited about this opportunity and want to help guide you through this journey. And so what I'm going to do, I'll start getting into the slides now. But feel free to use, I've got 2 monitors. So if you see me going like I'm watching a tennis match here, I am keeping an eye on the chat box. So maybe just while everyone, I know some of you on mobiles, it's harder to type, but feel free to pop any questions in the chat box. Or right now, if you can, pop in what you're hoping to get out of this session. And hopefully if it's not in the presentation, we can cover off on it at some point. So I'll just give everyone a quick moment to pop in what they're hoping to get out of this session today. Unfortunately, there won't be any free food or free, I should have had lunch before this. I didn't think that through, did I? So if you hear my stomach grumbling, you'll know why. All right, I'll jump into the presentation. Calm nerves a bit. Yeah, okay, that's a really good one there. I think everyone's a bit nervous about this. Any job application, I'm in the careers area. I shouldn't be nervous about applying for a job, but it makes me so nervous. We're very self-critical as we're going through this. So I think the first step is to just get things on paper, as Elise said, just start. Yeah, so a clear understanding of how to structure the information in the personal statement. Thanks, Catherine, it's a great one. Better understanding of what the equity pathway offers. We'll probably be able to have a bit of a chat about that towards the end, but I think, Sian, there's some really good frequently asked questions or resources about frequently asked questions floating around. Do they sit on one? If there is a good URL, feel free to drop it into the chat.
Yeah, sure. Yep.
As we go. Sorry to put you on the spot. I just think
no, that's fine.
while students are here, can't hurt. Better understanding of what to include in the personal statement. Okay, excellent information on getting into the program, how detailed we should be in the statements. Yeah, that's a good point as well. You don't have to go into like absolute personal details in your application, as some of these things will be very personal. And I suppose Sian might be able to speak to this a little bit more at some point, but you don't have to reveal it. How would you sum it up, Sian? You don't have to reveal everything about themselves, but
yeah, basically we don't want anybody to have to relive any trauma that they may have been through or share every experience you've ever had. It's more about how those experiences have shaped why you want to study medicine now. And you're telling the selection panel why you want to study medicine. And in the personal statement, you need to provide evidence to that selection panel of your enthusiasm for medicine, your understanding of studying medicine, and all of those things to try and give them an idea of why you should go through.
I really like that, Sian, how your experiences have shaped you. So focusing on how the experiences have changed you.
Yeah, it's more of a positive, the positive that's come out of the experiences you've been through. So yeah, sharing those to the selection panel, not to give any specific examples, but it's those experiences that ultimately define why you want to study medicine. So that's what you need to include in your personal statement.
And thank you so much, Sian. That's really helpful. And we'll take some reflection to see how those experiences have changed you and how that relates to studying medicine and how it might actually help you study medicine. Not all of us will have something as direct as Dan had, where he was working, I think he mentioned, in Indigenous communities. And, that's a very clear-cut one where it's very clear-cut as to how the skills are transferable and the experiences are transferable. The rest of us might not have an example that is as well aligned, but that doesn't matter. Please don't sit there thinking that just because your example is not directly aligned to the medical field, that it's any less valuable. You might just have to reflect a little bit more as to why it is relevant. And chatting with people about that can really give you some insight about why it's relevant and how you grew through that period and how it's shaped you. So yeah, thanks so much, Sian. I've got a habit of putting people on the spot in these, which is great fun when we've all got kids running around. It sounds like there's a stampede upstairs at my house, but actually there is a stampede. So who am I kidding? All right, so we'll jump onto the slides. Everyone should be able to see my slide or screen, I should say. So overview, the eligibility, preparing your personal statement, the help is available, and any questions? Okay, so the pathway to admission in Bachelor of Medical Science and JMP is for up to 6 students. As we all know, there's not that many places, but you just give it your best go. So obviously the ATAR equivalent for enabling students only, your personal statement, that's still the 2 options, isn't it, Sian, where they can do a video or?
Yes. Yep. So a video, I've since found out from EtE that an MP4 is the best file to provide that video on. So I'll add that to the website just for people's reference. And a 1-page document-ish. I know Dan said his was a little bit over 1 page. So we're not going to be too harsh and say it's over by a little bit, so we won't accept it. But if we can try and stick to those guidelines just in terms of how many applications the panel have to review and the time it takes, that would be great. And sorry, Greg, just another thing. The 6 places, I just wanted to clarify that those are for current enabling participants only, current enabling students only. If you're a past enabling student within the 5-year requirement, you actually apply via the standard JMP application process, which means you go into the whole numbers of the standard JMP applicants. They aren't included in part of this 6. The 6 is set aside specifically for current enabling.
Okay, thank you so much for clarifying that. It's good to know. And we've got the equity indicators, which we go into a little bit later, but they're listed on the website as well. So we'll go into them, as I mentioned, in a moment. Sorry, I need to be an octopus to manage all this stuff. So, okay, so your personal statement, provide evidence of your interest in, enthusiasm for, and understanding of studying medicine and working as a medical professional. Medicine is confusing, okay? There's no 2 ways about that. There's many pathways you can go in medicine. The degree itself is a pretty full-on or very full-on degree. The work environment when you get out there, it's different. The specializations and the requirements for those specializations, or you might go to become a GP, which is a different sort of specialization in itself. There's many layers to medicine, and I don't think you can ever have too much information in your brain. I know it will be confusing, well, at least it is for me because there's so much going on, but I don't think you can ever do too much research into medicine and what the pathways are once you actually finish, what the career options are like, what type of work you'd be doing, and what type of skills you need to be successful as a medical professional. So please don't think, medicine, pretty straightforward. You become a GP or you work in a hospital. It's so much more complex than that. I won't even pretend that understand the ins and outs of it. But do your research. Doing that research will, and I'm sure you've already done a lot of research because you're probably excited about it, but this will allow you to write a better personal statement, because it's hard to write a personal statement if you don't know what you're aiming for, so to speak. You've got to know your target and what is required to be a good medical professional. And as Dan said, he's picked up a lot of skills before he even started in medicine around the interpersonal skills. Now, you might think your job at wherever it is, customer service job or whatever you're doing at the moment, is not relevant at all. But some of those skills you've actually picked up, your interpersonal skills, it might be some volunteering you're doing, that can be actually highly relevant. So make sure you weave those skills you have in. And that is definitely the value of actually chatting with people who know you, because then they'll be able to go, you haven't mentioned anything about your interpersonal skills or your eye for detail or your compassion for people, etc. So definitely get to know, first of all, what the medical profession is like, and what skills are required to be successful in that profession. So do your research. So you got we've already gone through that. The video statement, simply record it on a smartphone or similar, MP4, as Sian said. Save the OneDrive and email the link. So that's all pretty straightforward. There's plenty of resources out there online in terms of how to record a decent quality video. Trying to obviously get the camera at eye height like I've got set up at the moment, and just some of those basic things like getting the lighting right. You don't want it to be all dark. That doesn't work so well. So make sure you get those. Do you feel that makes a big difference, Sian, in actually being able to see the expression on the person's face?
Yeah, we received a few videos last year, and they were all, very much in, like, a few were outside, which was nice.
Yep. Okay.
Obviously without having noise interruptions, but I think that definitely helps the panel see the person and get a feel for them, I guess.
Yeah, I like video, but video is very hard to pull off a decent video. It doesn't have to be high quality product. You don't need to get a film crew in, okay? But you need to make sure it's shows you in your best light, so to speak. You know, everything's clear. Like Sian said, there's no dogs barking like crazy or windy day, so no one can understand you. And yeah, so you got to get all those basics right. So the written statement, don't exceed that 1 page. Little bit of flexibility in that. The font size, make sure you follow the instructions of Arial size 11. And there are some personal statement resources available there, and that's the email address which Sian shared a little bit earlier as well. Okay, so personal statement, it's all about you. Let it reflect your personality, but you got to make sure it's professional. This is the hard thing to toggle. Professional, yet like personal, like let your personality shine through. Yeah, good question. Can you submit both? Probably not, but maybe. I think it'd be too hard. You may.
I'm thinking no, only because of the panel having to review 2 things then.
Yeah,
but I can always ask the question and just double check.
Yeah, yeah, it's worth asking the question.
I'm thinking no.
I'd be thinking no.
Yeah.
But you're very brave to try and do both.
Yes.
Doing one would tire me out. So you got to keep it friendly and engaging as well. Like, this is about showing who you are. So you don't want to make it dry and impersonal, but at the same time, you don't want to share. You don't have to share too much, and like Sian said, relive that trauma. So really focus on how that, or if there was trauma, but how those experiences, I should say, shaped you over time. So provide evidence of your transferable skills. So that's where you've got to think about what transferable skills you have. Might be things like critical thinking, communication, resilience, organization, planning, all of those type of things. So more future oriented. We're talking about how previous, and just responding to one of the questions here from Catherine, but how previous experiences will shape you for future success. Do you think that's a good way to sum it up, Sian? Sorry, you're on mute. Oh, there you go.
Say it again for me, please.
So like how those previous experiences that students have had will shape them for their future success.
Or just how, yeah, that and how they've impacted you so that you want to study medicine.
Okay,
like, kind of like Dan and Elise had said, you know, these things had happened to them, but through that process, that's led to them wanting to study medicine to make other people's lives better, or, you know.
Yeah. Why are you here in this session today? What's made you come along? What's ticked over and you've gone, hey, I really want to, you know, study medicine.
Yep.
It's not always a light bulb moment, but you know, what events cause that to happen. And distinguishing yourself as a committed, capable candidate with an understanding of the university values as well. So, all right, jump to the next slide. Structure, stick to the limits. You want to make this like a essay with a kind of clear start and end. And don't get too deep into too many examples. You want to keep this so it's fairly easy to follow and easy to read, because the selection panel are going to be reading quite a few of these. You want to make sure that your examples are actually pretty easy to follow. We always say when people are writing job applications that it's probably better to have 1 or 2 really clear examples than try and do 10 examples that are weirdly intertwined, and then it ends up in some story that only you will be able to understand. And when someone else who doesn't know you is reading this, they're going to get very confused. So you want to make sure everything is very clear, well thought out and well described and relevant, of course, so that the reader can actually understand what is going on. So probably less is more in terms of the examples. Okay, so highlight your passion and enthusiasm. In a video, it's funny, if any of you have ever shot videos before, it's confronting, full stop. Well, I find it confronting. But if you speak like this in a video, it's really boring. Unfortunately, you've got to really be like not over the top, but you've got to almost feel like you've been over the top to appear like at all enthusiastic. So make sure that if you shoot a video, you are making sure that enthusiasm actually comes through. There's many tricks to that, be it standing up or having heaps of coffee. I'm not sure. Options are all there for you. So make sure you share that passion and enthusiasm for the program and your future goals, and make sure each paragraph has some relevant information and flows quite well from one to the next. You need a nice flow in the document as well. You can't sort of jump around too much. Obviously, proper grammar, professional tone, full sentences. It needs to be very well written. And we've already gone over the recording side of things as well. Okay, the equity indicators we're going to do in the next slide. Communicate how your equity-related experiences enhance your application to medicine. So you've got to join the dots on that. And yeah, explicitly state any key information you wish to be considered in their personal statement. You can't sit there and think, oh, the panel, they'll join the dots as to why. You know, make sure you're very explicit with why this is meant for you. Just because Dan worked in Indigenous communities and enjoyed that, you know, you've got to actually explicitly say, I enjoyed working in it, and spell it out to them essentially. So the equity indicators, socioeconomic disadvantage plus 3 of the following. These are the ones you want to actually structure your application or your personal statement around. In terms of the structure, some of the experiences you've had might tick off on a couple of these, or you might choose to actually address them individually. But these are listed on the website as well, aren't they, Sian? Yeah, that's what I thought. So which ones of these you actually select, just have a think about which of these experiences have shaped you to be a better medical professional. So it's going to be a bit of, I'd print this page off and have a really good think about what ones are going to put you in the best light, and form a really strong plan before you actually hook too much into writing your application. Any questions about any of these? And I might not be able to answer them till the end, but and some of these questions, some of them might be personal as well. So if you're not comfortable asking them online here in this forum, there is that email address as well. Sorry, Sian, go for it if you.
I was just going to say, last year we found throughout the process that some applicants might have more than 3 of these. So that's fine. Like, you know, if you've got more than 3 things, it all kind of, explains what you've been through. So when you're responding to your equity indicators, it's all for the selection panel to consider, and they will take into consideration all of the things that you put in there. So my advice is don't put any less than 3, but if you've got more than 3, that would be great. And sometimes, you know, you might only have 2 of them, but there might be something on that list that might be something you've experienced that isn't per se on that list. So by all means, get in contact with me because, like I said, the selection panel does take into consideration all of the things that you list as part of like your overall picture when they review your equity documentation.
That's fantastic, Sian. Thank you. And feel free to jump in at any point. I thought it was only 3, but this is the first time I've delivered this presentation. So
yeah, sorry, 3 is the minimum.
Got it.
But
got
yes,
it. I'll have to
if
change
you've got
the
more
wording.
things in there, it's like it's not going to be a disadvantage.
Okay. And we've got a question here from Nathan. Where can we get these slides? So what I can actually do is I might PDF the slides, send them to yourself, Sian, and if anyone wants a copy of it, they can just email that equity. Would that work?
Yes, if you email that, we also plan on getting them uploaded to the website, the JMP website, where all of these documents lie.
So we could put the slides up there on the website as well as the recording, couldn't we? Okay, yes. So that's
and
probably
I can email them out. There is a bit of a hold up with things being uploaded to the website at the moment. So the first port of call would be to email me, and then I can get, I can send it back to you, the actual recording and the slides.
Yep. Yeah, so stay tuned for them on the website. So, okay, so we've got a question here, which I might save to the end from Lynn, just about the eligibility criteria, but it's a good question. So thanks for asking. Okay, next we've got some questions about the, some points to think about on the personal statement. You know, reflect on, make sure they know your suitability to study the medical degree, your reasons for choosing this program, your experiences and their relevance, and your relevant work experience, achievements, wider interests, and your career plan. So these are some things to actually, as you're writing it, make sure you've ticked these off. They're pretty important things to do. Now, I was also having a chat earlier about getting to know the medical profession, and I support, don't get a huge number of JMP students come through because a lot of them can sometimes think that they know exactly what they want to do and possibly think that it's all pre-planned and you just follow the bouncing ball. But there's definitely a lot of career things that do pop up when you're a medical professional and navigating your career. And we have got some good resources available, which again, you'll be able to access these when we put them up on the website. Like New South Wales Health actually has a really cool, and that's the last point, medical career planning tool. And it talks about like all the different career options for medical, for doctors, and how many jobs are actually available. Because there's some of them, like, this is a bit of a different one, anatomical pathologist. You're like, what is that a job for medical people, and it is. It's someone who works in that niche area. But in New South Wales, now don't quote me on this, but in New South Wales, there's probably in the public sector 30 of them, and the turnover would not be overly high. And so it just gives you a bit of an idea versus GPs. There'd probably be thousands of GPs, wouldn't there? And so that one, there's a bit more turnover or more opportunity to work in those areas. So it can just, that last link there can actually give you some good ideas on some of the different professions and how many people actually sit in each one, and possibly even how long does each pathway take. I think a GP, it's a 2-year training program versus anatomical pathology might be a 5-year training program once you finish your degree and do your first couple of years. So it's really complex, but just get your head around some of the different opportunities that are out there. It can't hurt to broaden your horizons through reading through those 4 different resources. There's also a webinar available. Gosh, it's been a little while since I watched it, but I think it's about 40 minutes or so off the top of my head. Could be wrong there. Just to walk you through the JMP program. It is a unique program we've got here at the University of Newcastle. Definitely very, very unique. And gather your content. This is where you need to just sit back and reflect on the things you've been through and the impacts of them on your interest in medicine. And again, you don't have to go into lots of detail about them, as we said. And sorry, the last point's just dropped to the dark bit of the slide there. List your achievements from work, education, and definitely things in the community as well. So I'll fix that slide up. Sorry, it just jumped off the slide when I added another resource. I missed that. So there's going to be a lot of reflection before you even get started. But hopefully these slides will give you the framework on what to reflect on. Then it's a matter of pulling it all in. Okay, gather your content. We've kind of already just covered that. So sorry, that's my fault. I doubled up on that slide there. I meant to drop that off. That's why it went wrong. Okay, so actions and experiences. So this is when we come to the actual structuring of the statement. So things you do. So practical, you make appointments, learning a new language, learning about new systems. Financial might be managing a tight budget. Emotional might be enduring distressing experiences, handling difficult situations. Personal is more about developing your skills. So these are things you do and you have done throughout your life experiences. So this is some of the language you can start weaving into your application. So then as a result, you can have an attention to detail, managing challenging situations. You can be adaptable. So you can see how you've done these things and then they allow you to, as a result, do these actions. Decisions about decision-making and problem solving, and understand complex information. So you're using your experiences, things you do, to then demonstrate capabilities you actually have. And then you also want to work in or weave in some personal characteristics about yourself. Try and make this, how can I put it, unique to you. You can't just say, I'm a hardworking, dedicated team player who has an eye for detail, because that will just sound like so dry and like anyone could write that. So you want to weave these personal characteristics probably into your experiences. So when you're sharing those experiences, make sure you let people know that you have these personal characteristics. That's another thing that you can be quite good to do before you get started on this, is really stop and think about, why would someone want to hire you or take you on as part of the JMP program? So we might actually just do a quick exercise, so to speak, in the chat room here. What do you guys think will make a successful person or student in the JMP program? Just 1 or 2 things. Just don't overthink it. What do you think it takes to be successful. Laura, that's a great one. Dedicated. That's great, Nathan. There's not a lot of room for procrastination, is there? That's great, Catherine. Helping others in all walks of life, absolutely. And dedication, yeah. So if you think, I think you're right, as that's what it takes. Make sure when the panel is reading your application that you're getting the point across that you have that dedication, and make sure you exhibit or share examples of when you have avoided procrastination and shown dedication, etc. So yeah, that's really important. Yep, know why they have to have a goal in mind. Yeah, mention your goals and where you want to head with all of this. So tell your story, develop a list of your defining qualities. Okay, this can take some reflection about what your defining qualities are. Like when I ask people in interviews or when I meet them for career consultations, tell me about yourself. You would think that is the hardest question anyone could ever be asked, because a lot of people struggle with that question. Or if I ask them, why do you think you'd be good for this job or program? People really struggle with that. So make sure you invest enough time into why you think you would be a strong applicant. Okay, and then expand on those as to where you've demonstrated these qualities, and then describe your event or the experience using an engaging story. It's funny, when I do interviews, if you do a whole day of interviews or the whole day of reading applications, unfortunately, the applicants can all blur into one. You read so many of them, you just, by the end of it, you're like, I can't remember if that person was that person or this person was that person. If you can write, and it doesn't have to be an amazing story, but if you can try and write as much as possible in an engaging manner, it definitely helps your application stand out. A really good way to do that, and the link, I won't click on it now, but it's in is using the STAR methodology. And that just allows you to actually use, it's called situation, task, action, and result. And that's a really good framework for both interviews and also for just generally sharing experiences. Because you know how you get those friends who tell you a story and they kind of jump around? You don't want to be doing that in your application. You want a clear and succinct way of sharing an example. So, okay, so demonstrate your qualities not simply listing them. You actually have to share some examples. Okay, why you pursued the experience, you make sure you get that in there. How you felt during the experience. You might dismiss your feelings as, well, what I felt is irrelevant, but they're actually a really, really important part of the reflection and the self-awareness piece of actually your application. It's a personal statement, so it should be sharing some personal things. What you accomplished and learned, again, this is going to be very unique to you. And if you share this type of thing, I think it will help your application stand out, and how it affected you and influence your decision to pursue medicine. Okay, so reflect on that. You know, I'm saying the word reflect a lot, but this is what we need to do before we get into it. And conclude everything by, again, emphasizing your personal qualities, perspectives, and passions. So you want to, again, highlight the reasons why you think you would be a suitable applicant. So make sure the examples you share are relevant as well. So there's a good framework for doing this. So it's pretty basic, but works quite well. Because you probably will write 2 pages and then have to cut it down or something. That's probably quite common. So have a good think about are all aspects of the example I've shared relevant? Because there's some aspects you can probably cut out that don't need to be in there, or is the whole example not relevant? So yeah, just have a think about that. Some questions to ask yourself. Personal statement should be about you. Okay, just that third point there, that's really important. And it needs to be unique. Otherwise it will just all blur into other people's. And really having that personal insight and showing that you understand yourself and how these experiences have shaped you. This is a really difficult thing to get on paper, but it does make your application more unique to you. So we are here to help, definitely. Lovely water bottle there, Natasha, by the way. There we go, cheers. We're here to help. So if you need anything, you've got the Ask a Question service for current students. You've also, obviously we can't do the drop-in thing at the moment, but the university, I don't think I'm not going to make predictions here, but anyway, it is there when we are open. And you've also got Excellence Through Equity email address, which you can access as well. Okay, so I've got a couple of questions and I will go back to the one a little bit earlier as well. So we've got a question here from Sarah. So it's pretty much it for the bulk of the presentation. So we'll jump to the Q&A now. So Sharon, you jump in.
Sorry, I just saw that pop up and I thought I might just
go for
quickly
it.
jump in there. The one that Sarah's just put up, how and when can we apply for an enabling program in 2022? So you're talking about completing your program at the end of this semester. Applications, so the direct application process for all of our pathway students are going to open on it's Monday, isn't it, Danielle? Monday, the 18th of October, and they open at 1 p.m. If you haven't read your emails, please do so. We sent you out some information on Sunday that came specifically from Danielle, Leah and I, inviting you to an application information session that we're running next Wednesday in preparation for applications opening the following Monday. But please, any other questions in relation to that, I'll pop an email address up and you guys can send the questions on to that. So thanks, Greg. I just thought I'd jump on that one fairly quickly to get it out of the way.
That's what I wanted. So thank you for volunteering there. Okay, so there was also a question from Lynn a little bit further up, which is I'm a bit confused about the eligibility criteria. In order to be qualified for the scheme, do we have to live in a certain region of New South Wales, which is low socioeconomic, even if you have the three other EAS factors? So I don't know if someone wants to volunteer to answer that. Like, do you have to live in a certain region of New South Wales?
I can answer that one. So socioeconomic disadvantage is one of the requirements. So it is socioeconomic disadvantage and 3 of the equity indicators that you must meet. So applicants must demonstrate that they meet the equity indicator of socioeconomic disadvantage. This is via your residential address. And if it's identified by the Australian Bureau of Statistics as being in the lowest 25% of socioeconomic disadvantage in Australia. But just to note, it doesn't have to be your current address. It could have been a previous address that you lived where you were experiencing disadvantage, or you know, your education was being affected when you were living at that address. It doesn't have to be your current address now. So what the panel is asking is that you provide proof of your past or present residential address that reflects socioeconomic disadvantage. You can actually check the address you want to use. So what applicants need to do is just provide an email, sorry, not an email address, a residential address of where that reflects their socioeconomic disadvantage to me. The panel then takes this into consideration and it will be checked. So the SES status will be determined by the selection panel, and the selection panel will actually take context into consideration. So as well as prior and current experiences of disadvantage related to the equity indicators. So it is important that all applicants make explicit any key information they wish to be considered in their personal statement, because the selection panel will be looking at this all as a whole kind of package. So provide an address that does reflect the socio-economic and economic disadvantage, and then the panel will review that.
Can they check it before, Sian?
You can check it before. I can provide an website that you can go to check this, and I'll drop it in the chat.
Yep.
We don't typically send it out because we don't want people to look at it and go, oh, mine address doesn't meet the 25% lowest socioeconomic status, and not apply. So you can by all means check it. And like I said, I'll drop the URL into the chat, but don't not apply because your socioeconomic status doesn't hit the market, the 25% lowest. We just don't want people to not apply because of that, which is why we don't really publicise it, to be honest. So yeah, but I'll drop it in there. It's actually interesting if you want to check it anyway. But yeah, I'll drop it in, and then if anyone's got any questions, so just email me at the Excel through equity, and we can talk through it. No
I suppose there'd be a spot in the application where you'd put your address, wouldn't you?
So what happens is once all the applications are processed via, so this is for current enabling students, once they do their Your Next Move application, and they identify that they want to go through via the Excel through equity pathway, I then send them an invitation. An invitation goes out to applicants, and they then respond with the equity documents. And within that email, you can simply put your address in there, or you can put it on your personal statement, or your equity indicator information where you meet those three other.
So they'll be asked sometime during the application. Yeah. Okay, that's all good.
If you don't send me an address, I'll ask you for it anyway, most probably, but you could help me by just putting it in there would be great.
Yep, that makes sense. And I think we've answered all the questions that have come up so far. But any other questions from anyone while we were online?
There's just one that we've missed, I think.
Okay, thanks,
Daniel. When do we have to submit our statement by?
The deadlines, I'm not sure.
Who was asking that question? I don't think I saw that.
It's come from Matilda.
Okay, Matilda. So would Matilda, you a past or current? Oh, you must be a current enabling applicant.
Current.
Yeah. So when the Your Next Move applications open in October, and they close on the 21st of November for this pathway. So let me just quickly check. I should know these dates off by heart.
They'd be on the website as well, wouldn't they?
They are on the website via those links that I've put up. But I should know this and I can't think on the spot.
But that's okay. If everyone wants to just go to the website. Yeah,
my memory fails me, sorry.
No, yeah, it's not a problem. It's better that everyone looks at the website. Sharon, did you want to jump in?
I just wanted to quickly add to support Sian in what she's telling everybody as well. Don't forget there's a really good website that we actually have for all of our enabling students called Your Next Move. There's actually a direct link from that website straight to the Joint Medical Program page. And there's actually a little blurb on it. So please use that. I'll pop that web link up on the chat so everyone can use it. And I'm pretty sure, Sian, that the dates are actually also on this page for everybody to see. So I can only encourage you all to go onto this website, Your Next Move. Thank you.
Everything should be there. But I've just found, so the applications for the Your Next Move for EtE participants close on the 21st of November. And then, so that's via the Your Next Move webpage. And then I will email you to request the equity information. So any application, if you submit your Next Move application, then we are advised by Student Central Admissions who has applied they provide me with your contact details, and then I send you an email requesting the equity documents. And then you will have, I think it's a week to reply. So by all means, you can be doing all of this from when the Your Next Move application opens. You could be creating all of your personal statement and your response to the equity indicators in that time. So you don't have to wait till the last minute. If you've done it and you want to send it through before the deadline, that is fine as well.
Thanks for sharing that link, Sharon and Cian. Thank you. And Danielle, you've got, go for it.
I just wanted to add that this Your Next Move application that we're talking about is what Sharon mentioned that we're running an information session on next Wednesday. And then the applications open 1 p.m. the 18th of this month. So that's what the Your Next Move is.
Thank you, Danielle. I actually might get those details off you too, just so I can let anyone know if I get any inquiries in the meantime. That would be really good. I have been getting a few.
Will I can send you a because it's obviously being done by Zoom. We'll send you the Zoom link if you like, Cian, and please feel free to share it with anyone. We're going to try and give it a bit more of a push for everybody to be aware of it. So yeah, we can share that with you. So if you do get any more inquiries.
Yes, that sounds great. Thank you. I just saw another question there from Bo. Hi, Cian, just back to the socio-economic requirement. I was not able to find BOSS data. I'm not too sure what that acronym references. On my address at the time, I experienced socio-economic disadvantage. The 2 time periods I found was for, yeah, sorry, Bo, you might want to email me separately about that. I can put the link up in here now to the ABS if people want to go there and quickly check. I'll just grab that now for you. So it's the Australian Bureau of Statistics. There are some notes in here about you just need to make sure in the drop down that you're selecting the right map, the right interactive map. So I'll just put that in here now. But if anyone has any issues, please email me and I can give you a bit of assistance. And Bo, if you're happy to just email me separately, I don't know if this ABS website might help you as well. If not, yeah, please just let me know via email. But that's the URL there. I've just dropped it into the chat now.
And everyone, obviously, I've been called out with this before, the chat disappears as soon as I end this meeting. So if you're interested in viewing that link, click on it. So yeah, otherwise it won't be there. Okay, so I think unless anyone has any other questions, and obviously even after we finish this, all the avenues for asking for help are still there. But yeah, if anyone has any final questions, jump in, otherwise we might finish this up. I think it's safe to go upstairs. The stampede has finished. They've all fallen asleep maybe, which is great. But thank you very much for everyone's help, especially Danielle, Cian and Sharon, and also who both have left now, but Daniel and Elise, make sure you say thank you to them if you see them around campus sometime. Yeah, so thanks for sticking around, and we'll finish this up now. And yeah, we're just getting no more questions. So all done. All right, I'll end this meeting. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Greg.
No
Thanks,
worries.
Cian. Bye.
Thank you all. Bye.